What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Monday morning today, and I got a flat tire on the friggin' wags. Don't you just love Mondays? Anyway, so a bit late out here, and I went and got the A82 from Sam on the weekend at Whitey's Wiring, so that's back here for a tune this week too, and we'll be able to take over some of Sam's lovely work. Got some last bits of the puzzle for the LS build for the LS, or for the LS, for the engine for the LS31 the other day. Got an aeroflow sump baffle. Good idea when you're drifting an LS car, just trapdoor baffle for the sump. Just helps with oil surge, which is, you know, a pretty known issue for any motor when you're drifting, but particularly LS's here. So, spoke to Lachlan on the weekend. Lachlan's pretty happy to just tune with the VLT injectors to sort of 10 psi. He's pretty happy with that for now. And we'll sort out better injectors later on down the track. He's not that worried at the moment. He's just pretty keen to get his car back tuned on some, you know, half decent power. But today, we have a friend of mine, Matt, coming out with his 180SX. So I'll take you over that when it gets here. Pretty cool car, so it's coming out for a tune. So he'll be here fairly soon. I'm pretty late this morning because of that flat tire, so I'm surprised he's not here already. But yeah, when he gets here, we'll go over that car. It's pretty damn cool. I'm excited to give it a good tune. Righto, guys, so the 180 has arrived. Nice little wide body 1J, or 1.5J 180. So this is Matt and John.
Hello. And
they do all their own work as well. So it's always good to see.
Don't look too close.
Track car things.
Track car, yeah, that's it. If it works, it works. So 1.5J, 180SX, Kinagawa, or actually Mamba, sorry, GDX 3076 with a nice big 106 rear housing on it. So that'll be really good. So looking for about 400 horsepower today on 98. And yeah, it should be really good. So me and Matt here have been talking about driving for ages together. Except I keep selling my car.
But mine doesn't work.
Yeah. So we're hoping that, like, by the time tracks open properly, this thing will be ready to go after today, and hopefully we'll have the LS car ready soon so we can actually drive together when the tracks reopen. So anyway, Matt calls himself NIGHTWORKS Drifting on Instagram, so go give him a follow. He actually has some pretty cool cars. He's got an FC RX-7 with a 1J in it as well, so plenty of cool stuff around. All built out of his garage. So
indeed. Shameless plug, check it out.
Yeah, very good. Very awesome. Love seeing it. So this is a Link Monsoon ECU, so sort of the lower end Link, which for a track car is pretty much the way to go when you don't have heaps invested or you're not doing heaps of street car things. Being a track car, we're going to be pretty conservative with timing because track cars are always hot and they're always spending time pretty much at full boost. And also being track only car, I'll keep the AFRs pretty generous as well because I don't mind dumping heaps of fuel in them to keep those combustion temps down. So we'll go for about 11.3, 11.5 AFR. And yeah, should be an awesome little thing. Should be a rocket. There's not much in there. Do you know how much it weighs?
Absolutely no idea.
I'd say it's not much. There's a lot of fiberglass on it and there's not much in there. So I'd say it's not a lot. Anyway, super cool car. We'll get it on the rollers and get going. Righto guys, so a little bit of feedback on this thing tuning. So Matt and John have left now, they've gone home pretty much because I want to keep it overnight to sort out the cold start. It's very hard to do a tune and the cold start and everything in one day. Generally I would like to keep a car for sort of 3 days just to do the complete, have everything right. That being said, being a track car, it's not of super importance, but I do want to make sure that it is a nice tune and it's sort of done. So they've gone home and I'm actually going to tow this car back down to them later on the week because I'm actually meant to be picking up Jacob Peck's from Death Clicks. I'm meant to be picking up his A86 and they live quite close together, so I should be able to just drop this down and sort out with Jacob to go take this back to them and then pick up his 86 and do that in one swift hit. That way both cars I can keep for sort of a few days to get them right, and both owners only had to come out for the 1 day to be here for their power on sort of thing, and I think Jacob will want to film his and that. So But anyway, we ended up at 380 at the wheels, which is pretty standard for what I was thinking. I was sort of hoping for a bit over 400. But we did learn later on, obviously with being a track car, a bit different to the way we tuned Adam, so we spent a lot more time getting the timing perfect, getting right on the cusp of that area to try and get a lot of power out of it and trimming a lot of fuel out of it because it was a street car. Whereas this is a track car, we're pretty happy to be conservative with the timing as long as there's no noise and it's making power, and we're pretty happy to dump fuel in it just to keep AFRs really safe and keep some fuel going through that cylinders, through the bores, just to sort of keep everything cool. So we ended up at 380. It is a pretty savage setup. That small 3076 on the 3 litre bottom end, it is real punchy, really punchy. So one thing we did find is this thing's only got a 2.5 inch exhaust on it. I didn't actually have a look under the car, but Rex noticed when he was strapping it down that the exhaust is actually only 2.5 inch. So I'd say that's probably playing a little bit of a part in our sort of power figures. I reckon you'd probably get a few more horsepower out of it with a decent 3 inch exhaust. But, you know, it's a really punchy, nice power curve, heaps of area, 380 horsepower. It's about what we got out of Rex's at the same sort of boost pressure. But we are finding these weird, so this is actually, I don't know if I told you guys, but this is actually Mac valve. Boost is controlled by the link. So we spent heaps of time on the duty cycle, like the wastegate duty cycle table, trying to get this as smooth as we could, because it's hard to imagine looking at that curve. But this thing was actually even more savage when we started. It was super savage, and then it would drop heaps. Yeah, it was quite savage. So I spent a bit of time actually smoothing out the boost curve to try and get it so it was a lot nicer. It is much nicer now, much more drivable, but we're still getting these dips in the actual power figure, in the power curve. We've been through a few things, talked about a few options. Rex watched the car from the outside pretty closely, and it's sort of the way it's IRS and the way it's strapped down, it seems to be coming up on the roller and really rocking through the power run. And we're thinking that must be pretty much what's going on here, because like I've thought about pressure drop between the gate reference to the Mac valve, which is actually off the front of the turbo housing, and then, you know, obviously pressure drop through the cooler and stuff. But me and Rex have talked about it. We've checked the logs, because I logged the last 3 power runs. The manifold pressure is quite consistent. Everything seems to be fine. It doesn't seem to be playing that big of a part. Rex is 100% convinced that it's just the way that it's rocking on the dyno rollers. But again, this is one of those things where it doesn't matter how much you know how to tune, until you actually start using the equipment, using the dyno and stuff, it's stuff that only really comes with experience and pretty much experiments. So at the moment, Rex is just sort of going to try a different way to tie it down, try to tie it down further out towards the wheels on the control arms to try and maybe stop it from rocking forward, because what we found is because the straps are a bit far, like close together, and because it's IRS, even though it was strapped down fairly tight, as it rolls up, it's allowing it to squat and allowing it to move that little bit around. So just pretty much just try a few little things just to see what it's doing, but we're pretty happy with the tune. The tune's good. But yeah, it turns out it's actually on the old 95 that's in the car. It's not actually 98. So what we've done with the timing is going to be super safe. So, but yeah, it's going to be an awesome, fun combo. Like, there's not much to this car. It's, you know, fiberglass, stripped out, caged. It is, it's a pretty cool car. I'm really, I want to put Rotor Torque R's back on the LS31, but I want them in white. But I was looking at the website. I didn't think that the sizes were going to be aggressive enough, but looking at that, maybe they will be. But I want to put pretty much, it's the same sort of wheel and tyre combo actually, the Federal 595 on the LS car, but I want white Torque R's all around with completely pretty much murdered out the rest of the car, and it's going to have fiberglass overs on it as well, so that'd be cool. But anyway, we'll try a few things with this car. Yeah, they've left it with us, so we'll sort out the cold start in the morning. Sorry about mumbling my words, guys. Like I said, I'm not getting much sleep at the moment. But yeah, tune's good, AFRs are good, happy with a little bit of fuel in there, you know, consistent sort of 11.5s, and this car is going to be a heap of fun. So anyway, we'll try a few things, see how it goes. Sorry guys, I don't know if I mentioned it in that clip just then. I sort of babbled a bit, but that's on 20 PSI as well. So pretty much the same boost Adams was. Not as much timing as we put in Adams because we just, obviously it's a different combo for one. And again, we don't want to lean on the timing too much on this combo because it's pretty much a dedicated track car. So not quite as much power as Adams, but damn, it feels like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be so punchy. Anyway, Rex changed them straps. I'll give that just another power run and just see what it does, see if it still does the waviness, and at least then we have some data for correlation of whether it's something to do with what the actual car's doing or just what the dyno's going, what's happening with the dyno. Righto, so we tried with the new straps. We've had, since letting it cool and running it up again, we're having problems with this boost pipe popping off the intercooler every single run. So they've made the boost like the intake pipe and like welded a few beads on the end of it, but it obviously for 20 pound, it's not quite enough. It needs like a solid bead roll. He did have just a worm clamp on it, so we put a T-bolt on there, but still the T-bolt's just not enough to hold it on, so it keeps popping off. But with it cooled down properly, giving it a proper chance to cool and let the hot side cool down probably a bit more, we are seeing closer to sort of that 390 area. It is making an extra sort of half a pound of boost, just obviously just I'm assuming with the density. But it didn't get, the extra strapping, the way we strapped it down didn't take away the waviness, so inconclusive for that, which is a bit of a pain. But everything else, if you change this to actual boost, like what the map is seeing, we don't have this waviness in the boost, so it doesn't seem to be correlating to boost, fuel, anything else that it's doing. There's nothing in the trim that it seems to be correlating to. Nothing in the logs is showing anything that would be causing this waviness at all. So I don't know, it's a bit hard. AFR is a dead even, boost is staying, like it's maintaining boost perfectly, it doesn't drop boost heaps. Everything's sweet, it's just that waviness in the power, which is exactly what happened with Rex's 31 as well. We've got that same sort of waviness, so I don't particularly understand. Just annoys me that it's not a nice even graph. It annoys me that there's the power dips and valleys, but obviously some more research. Maybe ask a few people that have been operating dynos for longer than we have. See what they have found in conclusion to that sort of thing happening. I know we've talked to Shane, the bloke who bought the dyno off, and he always just says things like bad balance in tyres, bad balance in tail shafts, and that sort of thing can really get you your jagged edges and that on your power runs and stuff like that. He's given us a few pointers on where to look for when you've got issues like that, but in the car it doesn't seem it doesn't seem to vibrate, doesn't seem to do anything wrong, so I don't really know. Rex is still convinced it's just the way that it comes on up and down the dyno. The other thing is I reckon we're probably getting a little bit of wheel spin with these wheels as well, because just the way it's been behaving today, I reckon we might be getting a little bit of tyre spin on the dyno. So it could just be just a combination of the way it comes up and drops in tyre spin, and could just be something like that, because like I said, outside of anything to do mechanically with the back end like that, there's nothing else on the tune files or on the files from the dyno or anything that correlates to that waviness. So I don't know, I'm at a loss. Bit of stuff to research, but no conclusions as of now. All right, still having problems with this boost pipe blowing off. So this is my sort of quick ghetto solution. I've got just a little worm clamp in there that's actually holding that boost pipe into the chassis rail. So hopefully it stops. This is where it's popping out. It's popping out of that. So hopefully that stops from popping out enough that we can get another power run in, just because letting it cool properly seems to be making that extra couple of horsepower. So I wouldn't mind getting another power run in and maybe getting to that 390 area, just to have that number. But it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get rid of this waviness at the moment with what we're trying. But the other thing is I want to do just a bit more cruise tuning, just a few more areas of the map that I want to tickle up, because we didn't spend a lot of time doing cruise tuning. Again, with a track car, it's not as vital, but still want to do it to make sure the tunes are nice and crispy. Righto, so it seems our little ghetto sort of thing is holding, which is good. Means we get a few more runs in. I did manage to get on that run 389, so we're getting closer to that 390. Rex is just going to rip into town and get some fresh 98. We're going to chuck some fresh 98 with some octane booster in it, and that should get us over that 390 mark. Again, we're sort of just splitting hairs. We're not doing anything to change the tune here. It's just chasing that last bit of power just for our sake and for the customer. But I just thought I'd bring up so you can see this is our boost pressure here versus our power. So you can see how the boost pressure is actually not any correlation with the waviness. If I bring up the AFR, you can see that there's no correlation with the fuel either. So I'm I'm not quite sure. Again, it'd be nice if we had decent internet reception out here so I could do some research, but we don't. So at least I sort of know what's going on. You can see fuel here. I've got a fair bit through this you know, peak torque and stuff. But you can see there's nothing in the fuel that correlates to this waviness either. So we got that pretty safe 11.5s. It's sort of, you know, there's nothing in there that's correlating to this either. So yeah, I don't know, I'm a bit of a loss. I'll do some research and see what I can find out, what other people can see. But there's not way, I would like to just get rid of the curve just for the pretty picture and the pretty printout. Just that waviness, but I can't imagine of what it actually is going to be. But anyway, so with I expect with a 3-inch exhaust and a bit more flow, and if we spent a bit more time work on the timing, this thing I'd expect to see about 410. But anyway, while Rex goes to get some fresh fuel, I'm just going to work on cruise map a bit. And yeah, when he gets back, we'll chuck some fresh stuff in it and hopefully go over 390. And by that time, it's going to be pretty much done, except for cold start once I've trimmed up some cruise stuff. Righto, guys, so that fresh fuel made quite a bit of difference to it. We're definitely seeing some better power numbers at the moment. My ghetto little holder for the dose pipe, or the intake pipe, is holding, and it's holding boost, so that's good. So that's going to work for now for us. So we ended up making 399.9. What a piss off. What an absolute piss off. So with the better fuel, I compared a bit of timing with Adam's map that I had, and we tried to just try and get a bit of this out with timing, because we figured if we've got a fair bit of timing pulled in that peak sort of torque area where it's ramping up, and if it's hitting that, like sort of the point where the gate's opening and it's cutting boost there, but there's still no timing in it, it's going to probably try and pull it back, and that's where we're going to see this. But we tried a few different things and just can't get it to flatten this out. It just seems to be how it is. But anyway, there's not really much else we can do about it. Rex, because obviously we were playing with the timing again, Rex was in the car with the knockbox again. So Rex seems to think inside the car you can definitely feel the rocking, and it seems like while he's watching this, he reckons it's definitely coinciding with what it's putting down for power. So definitely seems to be just the way it's rocking up on the rollers. That's what we're going to call it until we know more. Righto, guys. So we didn't make 400, but we did one better, and we got to the bottom of the waviness crap. So Rex here put Rex was right.
Who was right?
Rex was right. It was just the way the car was rolling up on the dyno. That's all it was. So Rex found a place to get another strap around the subframe just to stop the car rocking forward. And we reset the straps on the control arms as well, just to bring them in a bit, so they didn't allow them to sort of, because they were facing so far out, as it was rolling forward, it was allowing them to come in and come up on the rollers. So combination of these two got the car sitting really, really still, which obviously it seems to be with these IRS cars is quite important. So we managed to get rid of that waviness. So as you can see here, this is a back-to-back of our 399 run, which as you can see, it was 399 because it was up and down and doing funny stuff.
It was that spike there.
That spike there got us to nearly 400. But we managed to get this dyno sorted so that our power curves are actually reading nice and even and flat. And we're still going 390 at the wheels, which is awesome. That's a really good result. Very happy with that. And we did 3 runs like this, and they're dead consistent. Nice and flat. So awesome that we got to the bottom of that, because that really would have kept me up all night. I hate when you have things like that and you can't figure it out. So it's awesome. That's all the issue was. So obviously we know the tune's good. I'm really happy with the tune. I'm really happy that this car made that power with only 2.5-inch exhaust. So yeah, honestly, like I said, they're coming back after it's got a bigger exhaust and stuff. With the 3-inch exhaust, I'd be happy to wind a little bit more boost into this thing.
A bit more timing.
Bit more timing, bit more exhaust without that back pressure. You know, it's got the big 106 housing on this little 3076. It's a really well sized combo, I reckon. All the equipment that they've chosen to do this car has made it a really well sized, nice powered, and it'll be really nice to drive. It'll have a nice big power curve, heaps of torque being the 3 litre, and relatively cheap, like relatively budget. You know, the Marvin Turbo is not a super expensive thing. They managed to do it all themselves and get away with it pretty cheap. So I think it's an awesome combo. But anyway, so that's our final power number, 390, which is still better than when they left. So I'll have to message Matt and let him know that we actually went 390. But stoked with that. Stoked to actually have a decent power curve, not a bouncy one. And yeah, stoked with this car and stoked to be a part of it. So cheers, Matt. Cheers, John. What's going on, guys? Just thought I'd just tack this on real quick. It's the next morning. We're just working on the cold start on this thing this morning. It's good. It's a really, really cold morning out here. But I was talking to Matt, and he's absolutely stoked with it, which is awesome. But I asked him last night. I sort of just assumed, but I forgot to ask him if it had ARP head studs in it. And it turns out this thing does not. It's just stock head bolts. So definitely happy to leave it at this boost. I definitely wouldn't go jamming any more boost in it at that power, although Matt reckons he's talked to Christian Golby about it, and Christian Golby reckons with stock head bolts he used to get like sort of 500-600 horsepower before they would start to lift and do bad things. So if anyone knows the limits of these things, it's definitely Christian Golby, so I take what he says as gospel, but even then, just as a tuner, I'm not too comfortable in putting any more boost into this thing with the stock head bolts. Anyway, just thought I'd tack that on, because yeah, I didn't find out till last night. My bad, should have asked Matt, but anyway.
Yeah, we should probably need to ask these questions. If, you know.
Should definitely have asked that beforehand, but I just assumed. I was like 1.5 J head, 1.5, one head, here we go again. 1 J head on a 2 J bottom end, I just assumed you'd go ARP, but I guess it is a budget operation, but friggin' hell, nearly 400 wheel on a budget operation. Even on this boost, I reckon with a 3-inch exhaust, the thing will go 400 plus.
Yeah, and I reckon we're nearing our limits on
98. Yeah, going to sort of 24. But I mean, yeah. Anyway, this thing's gonna be wicked. Righto guys, so this morning was meant to be get ready this 31, but it didn't happen. You'll see that on the next episode. Not for this video, but just thought I'd chuck in, because we couldn't get that on the dyno. After we did the cold start, we decided to just pretty much clean up the timing map a little bit. It had just some sharp edges from where we were being pretty conservative through the peak torque range, just to keep this thing super safe because it is a higher comp, and obviously big boost. But the thing is because we were being real conservative and then jamming a fair bit more up top to get our power after it gets over that sort of peak torque area. We're pretty sure that's why it was ramping up so hard and then just sort of hitting a wall, and then it just wasn't a very smooth power curve. We were pretty confident we could get it smoother just by smoothing out the table. Not so much more timing, but just smoothing it out a bit. That and Rex also played around a lot more with the duty cycle of the Mac valve that controlled the gate. Again, to try and just bring that savageness of it coming on gate down to a bit more of a usable, driver-friendly torque curve, like a nice drivable setup. And then running a power run again after we did that while it was cold, hadn't been heat soaked all day, we managed to crack our 400. So Rex cracked the big 400, so Matt's going to be stoked with that. I don't think he's too stoked about his rear main, but again, that's just a JZ thing. So you can see his breather setup's not really there, but anyway, stoked to crack 400 with this thing. Honestly, with the power curve, I loaded up one of Adam's just off the 1J. The difference that the extra half litre makes, as well as the extra compression they used. Apparently, I was talking to John when they built the motor, not sure what exact pistons they used, but they worked it out that the pistons that they put in it with the 1J head on the 2J GE bottom end, it should be about 9.5 to 1, I think he said, which is a good amount of compression. So that compression with the extra half litre, just the amount of difference it makes to this power curve is just insane. So, Adams were coming in, it's not sort of ramping up until 4.5, and then obviously Adams holds on a lot further along, and that's still with the 2.5-inch exhaust. So like I said to you guys, without putting studs in it, I wouldn't be keen to put any more boost into it, but with a 3-inch exhaust, I reckon we could get a bit more timing up top and probably get this thing closer to 410, 415-ish with a 3-inch exhaust and getting a bit more timing into it. So honestly, the timing in this thing's really, really conservative, but being a high compression J with the 1J head as well. I don't know the difference between the 2J head and the 1J heads in their efficiency and what sort of timing the 1J likes versus the 2J. So just comparing it to a stock 2J, like a stock Mark IV Supra 2J timing map, this thing is very, very conservative. There's no noise in the knockbox. It's going to be a pleasure to drive on the track with that sort of power curve. It's going to be awesome. So I'm just super stoked with this setup. I reckon between the compression, having the 3-litre bottom end, and then the 3076 with the 106 housing, I just reckon this is the most perfectly balanced setup of parts just to make it a really nice, torquey, fun drift car. So keen, hopefully, maybe Matt will let me have a drive of it one day. I'd be stoked with that because, yeah, on the dyno, it just feels punchy, so punchy. But anyway, again, this is like the third time I've done an outro for this video, so just so stoked with this thing. I'm glad we got to spend the extra bit of time on it today. We weren't going to, we were just going to do the cold start and move on to the next thing. But considering I couldn't get it on the dyno and we didn't have anything else to dyno today, so we thought, well, it was on here, we'd just tidy it up a bit more, spend a bit more time on it. And like I said to you when I did Adams, a tune file is one of those things that's never really finished. If you have the facilities and the time, you could sit down and work on a tune file 4 days to get it just perfect. So yeah, cool to spend a bit more time on it. Anyway, look forward to seeing this thing around. Keep an eye out at Matsuris and stuff for it. He gets around a fair bit. So, and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. Catch you later. Bye.